Hi there, and welcome to Awaken, leading edge masterclasses on spirit, self, and the quantum revolution. I'm your host for this event, Teresa Pridemore, owner of Sovereign Spirit, and I'm excited to introduce you to our next speaker, Emer Stassen. Hi, Emer.
Hi, Teresa.
So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Lovely to be here.
Emer is a sacred storyteller and earth witch. She helps witches, wise ones, and healers to rise up and return to their power by walking the witch's wheel home. Emer works to bring the forgotten magic of the witches firmly into the collective consciousness once again. She offers training in old Irish indigenous ways through the sacred stories of the goddesses and witches of ancient mythology and lore. Emer is from Dublin, Ireland, and lives in central Scotland with her husband, 3 children, and border collie dog Riley. And our topic is the Irish Medicine Wheel Power Portal. So, Emer, what is the Irish Medicine Wheel?
Yes, and thank you for that gorgeous introduction. It is, as I mentioned in my bio, the old Irish indigenous ways. So the Irish medicine wheel it's in all indigenous cultures. The circle, the wheel, it is the map for us that I am being called back to walk, that we are being called back to walk these ancient and connect with these ancient indigenous ways. So effectively, it incorporates the map of the cardinal directions, the north, south, east, west, and the in between, the cross quarter days. It incorporates the seasons, the 8 seasons of the year, the goddesses and gods that are associated with each one of these seasons, which is a celebration, which is a ceremony in its own right. And also it's connected to the sacred site on the land. And in my case, focusing on the Irish medicine wheel or the Irish wisdom wheel, it is the sacred sites of Ireland, of Eru, which is the Irish name, and the goddess, who is the embodiment of all that Ireland is. So it's a language, it's a symbolic um, spiral path that we can walk should we choose, that ultimately will invite us to come home to our balance within, to harmony and to wholeness, and
Mm,
that we may be the sovereign rulers of our life.
mm, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you. That's gorgeous. Um, so, I have been like called to really reconnect more with the sacred seasons and things like that. And I think it's really beautiful that there are these traditions that allow us to really explore that and step into that and really kind of walk with mama more too, you know? Yeah, it's really beautiful. Well, tell me, like, in what ways that you have reconnected with this medicine wheel? Because you talk about it as like a reconnection.
Yes, yeah, it definitely is. Well, you read in my bio about being a sacred storyteller and an earth witch.
Mhm.
And some people may know this, but I had a witch awakening 4 years ago.
Hmm.
And it was really, really visceral. And ultimately, what it awakened was this wise one within me, this maiden mother crone witch aspect of me, of all these archetypes that really actually I wasn't fully expressing, these aspects of me that I had suppressed consciously, subconsciously, within the society, within the work where I was. I came from the corporate financial services background.
Mhm.
So these aspects I knew, you had to put on your corporate mask and be a certain way on brand. So for me, um, reconnecting with this, I needed a little help.
Mm.
And that little help came from the volcanic fury and force of the witches as a collective, initially on the grounds and the sacred lands of Edinburgh in Scotland, near where I live. And it was like in hindsight now, looking back, it's like I needed this combustion within me so that it would clear out all the gunk, all the junk, all the conditioning that I'd been living and being up until that point. And it brought me back home to
Mm.
my Indigenous roots.
Mm.
Because at that time of the Witch Awakening, it was early 2020, and It was actually the Lionsgate 2020.
Mhm.
And that was the time when we couldn't travel.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I live in Scotland and I'm being told I cannot go home. Oh, how dare anyone tell me I cannot go home to my island of Ireland?
Mhm.
So what happened was I began to then reconnect with these ancient ways, and the medicine wheel came to me
Mm.
through that, through
Mm.
various different teachers as
Mm.
well. Actually, the one of the main inspirations was the 13 indigenous grandmothers
Mhm.
in the US, and I'd
Mhm.
watched a Facebook Live, and suddenly, like how a child is honored and revered and brought into the world in indigenous cultures, it had such an effect on me. I thought, why don't I celebrate and honor these aspects within my life? And through the jigs and the reels and the roundabouts, as we say, it brought me back, plonked me back on the medicine wheel, and I was being called to go, hey, look at your roots. What about
Mhm.
your roots? Go deeper and really reconnect with them. And it's been like a pilgrimage, online, in person, going to the land, getting to know these different goddesses, and what a sacred medicine that has been for me and others that I share it with as well.
Mm.
So I
Gorgeous.
hope that answered your question.
Yes, definitely. I just adore hearing stories about awakening, so kind of part of the reason I decided to host this event had a lot to do with my own awakening in 2020. So it's very interesting to hear. You said it happened in Lionsgate what year?
2020.
2020. Yeah. That was, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have told me stories about 2020 being a big awakening year for them. That's really amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and just how it can like open up a whole new level of consciousness and awareness and reconnection with again, I think reconnection with the earth and with her wisdom and you know, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
amazing. Um,
Absolutely.
so where are we now on the wheel and what medicine does this gift us?
Oh, yes. So right now, and over the course of your event, actually, we are in the season of Lunasa. So
Mm.
that's in the southwesterly direction on the medicine wheel, on the Irish medicine wheel.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you've heard of Lunasa.
Hmm. No, I haven't.
So I can
Yes,
share a bit
please
about,
do.
yeah,
I would love to
yeah.
hear more.
So Lunasa, so it comes just after summer solstice. So we've passed over the threshold of summer solstice into the time of Lunasa, which is, I'm looking at my calendar here, actually, the threshold is the very end of June, July, and the 1st of August
Mm.
opens up the season, which is 6 weeks of Lunasa.
Mm.
And this is the time of the harvest,
Mhm.
and it's the time of harvesting all that we have sown over the course of the spiral of the year, of the seasons of the year that we have planted back like a year ago and have grown and nurtured and parented. And now it's the time to gather all that up, to pick the apples, to gather the wheat and have a great big celebration. And where the name Lunasa came from, it's actually associated with a sun god called Lu, which is Lugh, but also his foster mother, who's called Talchu.
Mm.
And Talchu is the archetype, the embodiment of the grain mother.
Mm.
And her mythology in Irish mythology, as an oral lore, was that she arrived and she's actually came before the Tuatha Dé Danann, which people
Mm.
may have heard of, which are the shining ones,
Mm.
um, like the fairy beings.
Mhm.
The tribe Tuatha means a tribe, so
Mm.
the tribe of the goddess Danu. But she, Talchu, is even more ancient than them, and she is one of the Bollock. And Fear is man in Irish, and
Mhm.
these are the clay people that came from east to west, travelled across the lands over to Ireland. And when she arrived, she helped people to settled. So to transition from being a nomadic traveling folk to actually then begin to settle and create communities on the land. And she is associated with creating little clearings.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope she's wasn't going around chopping trees. I hope you weren't doing that, Talchu, but creating clearings in the lands that people could grow crops and sustain themselves, and therefore then communities would form around that. And in the mythology, as much of the mythology can so often go, particularly with the representation of the feminine, she got so exhausted from clearing these little pockets of land around the land of Eru, of Ireland, that she worked herself to death.
Mm.
So there is a little message there for
Mhm.
all of us to take
Mhm.
note
Yeah.
of our energies, of how much we are working and doing. And then also that association with then the reaping the rewards of what we have sown and remembering to celebrate that.
Mhm.
So on her deathbed, as she was dying, in her final breath, she called out to her foster son, Lou,
Mhm.
and said, please, please remember me. And in remembering me, please hold a celebration. It may be like a funeral assembly, a gathering of people from all across the lands,
Mm.
and hold them in memory of me, your foster mother, who took you in and raised you. And Lou did that and called these celebrations Lunasa.
Mm.
And she's honoured in this place called Telltown, which is in County Meath in Ireland, which is one of the middle counties where
Mm.
so many of the sacred sites are that I feel connected to. And her place, they have archaeological evidence of these big celebrations having been held in Telltown in the place of Talchu.
Mm.
And there's also a suggestion that this is where the first Olympic Games came from.
Oh,
From Ireland.
wow.
We're claiming it anyway, because as part of the celebration, there's the bonfire that people will gather around, there's the eating, the drinking, the telling stories, the singing, the music, and there's the demonstration of our strength and nimbleness and prowess through athletic games.
Mm.
So that's Lunasa, and it's interesting that the Paris Olympic Games have just finished, and that still the games are held around this time of August of
Yeah.
Lunasa. So this is where we are, and it is that we are beginning our descent into the darker time of year, because after Lunasa, Talchu passes the torch to Macha, the horse goddess, who then guides us into the darkest time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bridget comes back out and brings us into the light. So that's the whole spiral of the wheel and exactly where we are right now.
Mm. Beautiful. Oh, you're such a beautiful storyteller. Thank you so much. That was great.
You're so welcome, and it's gorgeous to honor her as
Mhm.
well as the Grain Mother, and her son, how he honored his mother too, which is a beautiful message as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So what did you say we're moving into next?
So after Lunasa, we move then into autumn equinox,
Mm.
which is opposite the spring equinox. And so this
Mhm.
is for the northern hemisphere,
Yeah.
and it is about the balance of the light and the dark, the yin and the
Mhm.
yang, the masculine, the feminine.
Mm.
And that's Macha in the version of the Irish medicine wheel that I follow. Macha is the horse goddess of war and death and
Mm.
strength and endurance. And she guides us helps us to come back into balance and then guides us into the darkest times of the year.
Mm. That's gorgeous. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was really
Yeah.
curious where because gosh, how far along are we in Lunasa? Did I say it right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes, absolutely.
so yeah,
So
we're like about 4 weeks in, maybe.
yeah, yeah. And then we go on. So another 2 weeks. So it's actually mid Actually, on my calendar, it's up to the 21st of September. We're in Lunasa.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then we step then into autumn equinox on the 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at like the astronomical dates will
Mm-hmm.
vary from year to year as well when we
Mm-hmm.
actually move in astronomically.
Mm, okay. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so we're looking at all these seasons and celebrations around them and the the goddesses surrounding them. Can you tell me what your favorite time of year is and why?
Ooh, what a gorgeous question. Hmm. So it actually has to be winter and winter solstice.
Hmm.
I feel like my answer should be summer. It should be the light and the brightest time of year. Like it's
Hmm.
still, in Scotland, we get in the summertime, we get very little darkness. It's bright till 11 at night, you get really, really long days. But
Hmm.
actually, so my birthday is in December. And I feel I have this, I love that time of darkness when we can light the fire here and really go within and allow all the brightness, the journey that we've had throughout the year to really land and integrate and anchor in within us. So
Hmm.
it's less of an out there, even though, there's the time of Thanksgiving, there's the time of Christmas if people celebrate.
Hmm.
Um, but for me, it is that winter solstice because one of the first sacred sites, the first sacred site that I connected to as an adult, it was probably back in 2015
Hmm.
when it was 2016 and we were back in Ireland around April time. My son, which is my youngest child, he had turned 5 and I said, let's go to Newgrange, Brunabonia, in Ireland's ancient East for your birthday. And him being 5 was going, okay, he's 13 now. There's no way he'd agree to that. So I took it was just me over. My husband had stayed in Scotland. So I took myself and the 3 children off to Newgrange for you have to go on an organized tour. But there was something about returning and going inside this womb tomb mound. So Newgrange is the name in Irish is she on Vrú, which and brew is womb, or can be translated as a dwelling place or a mansion. And it is the place of the fairies and is associated with this beautiful goddess called Bowen, which is a cow goddess, the bright, shining one. But why that's associated with winter solstice is that it's aligned with the rising winter solstice sun.
Mm.
So it's the whole symbology, and the rising winter solstice sun rises above the Red Mountain, directly opposite the entrance to Newgrange, which is a power portal in
Mhm.
itself.
Mhm.
And the whole spectacle takes about 19 minutes,
Mhm.
but it shines through the passageway, the narrow passageway, which has orthostats along it, and then into a central chamber, which has 3 cavities and illuminates the whole space. And that happens over the course of a few weeks at the time of winter solstice.
Mhm.
So on that tour with my children, they do a simulation of the light returning and penetrating the darkness of the womb. They don't talk about it so spiritually as that on the organized tour, but
Mhm.
it awakened something within me. It
Mhm.
was like the golden rays of the sun awakened the ancient resonance of this gold within me, this Celt within me. And going inside the womb with my children felt so symbolic as well. Like
Mhm.
we were being reborn through the energies, through the frequencies, through the stories.
Mm.
So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite times of year. And a few years ago, they may have done it this year, but they live streamed it,
Mm.
especially over the lockdowns 2020, 2021. They live streamed it, and the sun actually came out on a couple of days. The clouds parted, there was sun, there was a proper sunrise, and you could see this illumination. This monument is over 5,000 years old, and you could see this spectacle. And at the very, very back, the back recess of this womb tomb, it represents the womb within, is the triple spiral. It's carved on one of the orthostats, and it's not directly facing the entrance, it's tilted sideways. So you kind of, if you go there on a tour, you have to seek it out.
Mm.
Some tours I've gone on there and they haven't actually pointed it out. I'm going, this is the most important part, this
Mm.
triple spiral that has been carved into the rock here, and that it does become illuminated by the sun,
Mm.
even though the guide told me it doesn't. I'm like, I see it in my shamanic journeys. I see that triple spiral being illuminated and activated. And it's like activating the energy, the Kundalini,
Mhm.
um, our DNA within. So yeah, there's so much to this sacred time, but it's that whole symbology and the time of winter.
Mm.
That was a very long answer, but that's my
No,
favorite time of year.
that's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear the story behind it. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I had a similar kind of awakening experience when I went to Greece and got to see Delphi. And it
Mm.
was just this beautiful the tour we were on. Actually, the gentleman who was our tour guide was Irish, and
Ah,
he was telling the most beautiful stories. He was telling us all the stories of the area and what happened at Delphi. And there was a mist of rain coming in, and we were at the top of this hill looking down at Delphi from this vantage point, and I had this sense of homecoming. I felt like,
mm,
oh, I've been there before, and I got chills now just saying it now. And it was just the whole drama of the scene, everything was so amplified. Nature was talking, this beautiful storyteller was telling us all about the area and about the temple and the people that used to walk there. And I just looked down. I was 17, or I just turned 17, and I was just amazed by it. I knew I'd been there. And that was kind of probably my first time I ever had a sense of a past life experience, knowing that I like had past lives. But that was very eye-opening for me. So I can kind of relate to that kind of, getting to be at the sacred site and actually having just a light bulb go off. Yeah.
yeah, and that's exactly it. When you said the homecoming,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like these portals, these sacred sites, they bring us home and they
Mm.
remind us of what that's meant to feel like
Yeah.
in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
such
how
a
beautiful to experience that at such a young age of 17 as well.
yeah, it was very lucky that I got to go on this trip, and it is definitely a highlight moment for me for sure. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I mean, I guess we're kind of talking about this a little bit, but how how does the medicine wheel and knowing about it and working with it, how does it support your awakening and other people's awakening to who they are?
Yeah. Yeah, it really does connect to you speaking about your awakening and the homecoming and my experiences of going back to the motherland, to Ireland, who's named after this ancient goddess Eru. So it really does help us. Well, I can speak for myself. It helps me and has really helped me anchor and plug back in.
Mm.
It's like plugging the umbilicus back in to this wheel, this ancient architecture, the
Mm.
circle that's so symbolic of how we are all meant to be,
Mm.
really. So
Yeah.
it's, for me, I see it as the collapsing of the hierarchy
Mm.
because that's not serving us anymore. The leader at the top, the lone wolf, it's not serving us. It's making people sick. So when we allow that to fall away and die and collapse, or step out of these environments, or work in different ways within these environments that we're in, and invite in the community of the circle and the strength. These are unbreakable structures, the strength of the circle when we naturally sit in circle. When people come into the house here, we naturally gather around the kitchen table. Okay, it's not a circle, it's a rectangle, but we naturally gather around it, over a cup of tea or have a chat. And it really is this solid foundation that we can all, should we choose, begin to rebuild our foundations from. And in my instance, it's the call back home to Ireland, to focus back on the wisdom and remember the mythology that I learned in school through the Irish language, to remember all the gifts that are here waiting for us. And through the mythology that will spark something within us, we can begin to forge these new relationships with these ancient deities that the witches would have revered, that the Magdalens and Yeshua, I really feel, would have revered and connected to and tuned into. And it then helps us to anchor that in and awaken these energies within us from the soles of our feet up. Because when people, like just 2 weeks ago, I co-hosted a retreat in the land, the sacred site of Macha, the goddess of the autumn equinox, the horse goddess, who could run faster than any horse in Ireland. And the experiences of the people, and even for myself as well, spending time on her sacred site on Macha's Mound in Ulster in Armagh, that's named after her, this goddess, spending time there and walking barefoot on the green, green grass of the island of Ireland, and allowing, see the clearing, it allows the clearing of our voices and the emotions that have been held down to arise again. And following these wheels and these maps, it allows the voices of the ancestors, the voices of the land, to speak through us once again. And I feel I've been very fortunate growing up in Ireland, growing up in Dublin, and with my parents from the southwest of Ireland, which I feel is my soul home, but also being able to go to these places where I feel the goddesses in particular are calling me to go. Like Macha said, you have to start here in the north of Ireland, in the kingdom of Ulster, to help bring peace back to the land of this severed island. And yeah, I'm fortunate to be so connected. It's like it is such a huge part of my soul mission to share these stories, to bring the wisdom forth beyond the mythology as well. That's just the starting point, and share what wants to be spoken now. But also, so many people have Irish ancestry, have Celtic lineages, and whether people know it or not, it awakens so much within them. And that group that I co-led this retreat it was like we knew each other. We were so friends that it agreed to come back now and hold this circle, meditate together, sing, cry, scream, keen, which is the ancient Irish grief song, and really feel the power that we can create through our coming together, through the wheel, through the spokes. And the final part is that it brings us back to center time and time again. And the ninth goddess, for me anyway, is Eru. Because all roads, they don't lead to Rome. They lead home to Eru, to Ireland.
Mhm.
And that's the central point. And from there, we have the panoramic view of our whole journey, the bird's eye view of the path that we have walked and will continue to walk in new ways. So
Mhm.
that's the significance of this
Oh, it's gorgeous.
power place, power medicine.
I love it. I love it. I love that you're doing what you're doing. I feel like you're bringing such a potent magic to everyone who gets the opportunity to be in a container with you and gets to hear you speak. You're just a glorious person and beautiful storyteller. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been such a special experience having you share these stories with us. Um, And I feel like we could go on and on and on. I feel like I could just I would love to hear more. I'm so entranced. Um, but I would love it if you don't mind sharing about your free gift because it's another beautiful way for people to immerse themselves in this beautiful culture.
Yes, yes. So my free gift is a journey to meet the Cailleach witch. So you get to really feel the energy, the archetypal energy of this ancient goddess who is the creator of the Celtic lands and is associated with the time of winter solstice, the darkest time of the year. So it is the story of her many faces and what she represents in the mythology and for me as well in my experiences with her. So that is the free gift that people will receive when they sign up through the
Awesome.
link.
Beautiful. Yeah, that link is below. Excuse me, I have to clear my throat too.
That's the
Talk about a
Cailleach
clearing.
speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That's a beautiful gift and just love having you in my world and I'm excited for other people to have you in their world too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is beautiful, and I'm excited to awaken together through
Oh,
this summit.
me too. Thank you. And thank you all for being here and being witness to these beautiful tales. I hope that you're enjoying yourself. There's so many beautiful talks here for you and yeah, soak it all up. There's so much goodness here. Oh, you can also join a Facebook group called Soul Leaders and Visible Visionaries. If you'd like to be a part of the conversation, please share with us your stories too. All right. Well, many blessings to all of you. Thank you for being here and have a beautiful rest of your day.